Hello and welcome to our second solo episode of Well Rooted. I am your host, Hanin Jarrad, and we are 3 days post Super Bowl, so congrats to the Seahawks on whooping the Patriots' ass. Now, typically I don't care about football, well, at least not American football, but anytime I get to watch a Zionist lose, it's a win for me and for all of humanity. For those of you that don't know, Robert Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots, is a full-fledged Zionist and pals with war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. So he's someone I never want to see win, and I hope I never see win again. But of course, the real star of the show was Bad Bunny with his groundbreaking, historic Spanish halftime show that really, I have to say it kind of united everyone. It resonated so deeply with all people of immigrant background, all people of marginalized communities, and especially for the Latin community. And I am so happy that they had this form of representation that resonated with them so deeply. It was very heartwarming to watch. I think he did an excellent job of really bringing everyone together, and it was just an exciting halftime show. And most of all, it was a true example of Latin pride, of Latin joy. And as you know, joy is rebellion, joy is resilience, joy is resistance. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that that was the true thing that was the scariest to the MAGA camp. I don't think it was the fact that it was in Spanish. I don't think they were afraid of a language. I think they were afraid of Latin joy, of brown joy, of ethnic joy. And I think that is what is truly scary to people who find a halftime show intimidating or scary at all. It was truly a gift for the Latin American community, and I loved that it came at the perfect time. With that being said, I don't know, and nor do I understand why Lady Gaga had to be there. I don't think she contributed anything special to the performance. I don't see a need to platform a white woman when we should be celebrating a Latin American artist. I don't see the need for Alex Earl to be there. I don't know why we need to have a creator who has had nothing to say about the ICE raids, who has had nothing to say about Palestine or any humanitarian issue whatsoever. That makes no sense to me. A lot of people didn't know that there was a third Zionist that was also present during that performance. That person is named David Grutman. David Grutman is a Miami nightlife entrepreneur. He's heavily invested in the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami, maybe in the Las Vegas one as well, because he does own Poppy Steakhouse, which is also open in Las Vegas as well as in Miami. He also helped open Live nightclub in Fontainebleau, and he is also a part owner in Gecko in Miami, which is also co-owned by Bad Bunny. So I don't know if that partnership had anything to do with him being there. I don't know why a 51-year-old man needs to be dancing with professional dancers and much more well-known celebrities. I don't know what sort of contractual obligation Bad Bunny was under to have these Zionists infiltrate his performance in that way, to be honest. He could be doing so much better by disassociating with these people, and I really hope that he makes a conscious effort to disassociate with Zionists, especially because he's Puerto Rican, and Puerto Rico is notoriously pro-Palestine, so it makes very little sense for him to associate with the likes of these people. So yeah, I enjoyed every second of the performance, except for the seconds that these Zionists were depicted on screen. I loved seeing Pedro Pascal. I loved seeing Cardi B. I really love Cardi. I loved seeing Carol G. Jessica Alba. I don't know why she needed to be there. She really gave us so much of nothing. And what I really don't like about Jessica Alba, she's obviously gorgeous and I guess a great actress, but she's also someone who has intentionally attempted to distance herself from her Latina roots time and time again. I don't respect that. Like, I don't respect that sort of behavior of the need of distance myself or to deflect from my heritage and my roots, from my grandparents' roots, from my parents' roots. I just find that really gross. And I just can't respect someone who doesn't have pride in their origins. I can't respect you as a human being. And so, yeah, not a huge fan of hers either. I'm really happy for Bad Bunny, and I love the part obviously where he gives the Grammy to the little boy who plays the younger version of himself. I thought that was very special. There was misinformation online of the little boy being Liam Ramos, who is the 5-year-old boy that was detained by ICE along with his father. And that turned out to be incorrect. The little boy is actually an Argentinian Egyptian little boy who was playing the role of a young Bad Bunny. But yeah, that was a very special, beautiful performance. Okay, moving on to the podcast, Well Rooted. Last week, we came out with our first interview of 2026 featuring Palestinian filmmaker Rolla Selbak. This was such a fun interview to do. Rola's so funny. We had a great time. I just couldn't get enough of talking with her. She's so incredibly well spoken. She's so intuitive with what's funny and what's important. And she's a master storyteller. She is currently working on her brand new film that she is creating in partnership with Watermelon Pictures that is called The Visitor. And what's really unique about The Visitor is it is the first of its kind Palestinian horror film set in occupied Palestine. And this is a very interesting dynamic because Palestine on its own is horrific for Palestinians that are living under occupation in the West Bank and those that are living during a genocide in Gaza. On its own, that's already scary. And when you go ahead and take the idea of a ghoul, of a ghule, and you set up this entire horror story within an occupation, there's this really interesting dynamic because you're kind of sitting there thinking, well, what's scarier? As Rula says, is it the occupation or is it the ghoul or the ghule? And I think that's a really interesting dichotomy. You know, it's a very interesting take on occupation and on the life, the real life of Palestinians. So I can't wait. That movie's going to start filming this summer in Jordan. I'm really excited to hear more about it. I'm really excited to watch it when it's finally all said and done. Listen to the episode or watch it on YouTube. She goes deeper into the concept of the film and how it sort of came to be made with Watermelon Pictures. She talks about how, actually, I don't want to give too much away. The story of getting this film made to begin with is already incredibly interesting, let alone the story and the plot of the movie being so amazing and interesting. So you have to listen to the episode. It's a really fascinating journey to getting this film made. Another takeaway that I found really interesting from my interview with Rula was her sharing her story of getting dropped by CAA shortly after October 7th. CAA is one of the biggest entertainment agencies here in Los Angeles. A lot of Palestinian and pro-Palestine artists were dropped by CAA shortly after October 7th for protesting the genocide, for showing solidarity with the Palestinian people as they are experiencing a genocide, for showing support for the plight of Palestinians and fighting for liberation. And she talks about that. She's very candid. She's very raw. I can only imagine what that feels like. I mean, for her to be someone who is just exceptionally talented, very creative, to have to face that sort of betrayal, because honestly, to treat an artist that way for being revolutionary in spirit is a betrayal. It's a betrayal to artistry and to creativity and to film and filmmaking. And so for her to have to deal with that is just gut-wrenching when I think of all the people that have lost jobs, that have lost opportunities because of this. So it was really interesting to get to hear this like firsthand story from someone who did experience that. And then finally getting to hear her talk about getting this made with, again, Watermelon Pictures, who is the first Palestinian production house here in the United States. And this just really plays off of our last solo episode where we introduced the concept of narrative sovereignty and narrative sovereignty versus representation. When you have narrative sovereignty, when you have control over your story, you own the distribution, you own the platform, and getting to have the story finally made with a Palestinian production house, maintaining ownership, maintaining control of her narrative is such a full circled moment when you consider where she was 2 years ago, being dropped by her agency simply for existing as a Palestinian, for being an unapologetic Palestinian artist. It's a really full circle story. Again, I loved making this episode with Rola. We go into so much more. We go into early Arab cinema and kind of the cinema and the theater, the masrahiyat that we as Arab grew up watching and hearing. We talk about different Palestinian artists and Arab artists. And I just loved hearing her share her take on all of that. So again, the episode is out featuring Rolla Selbak. I hope you take some time to listen to it. It's a really great episode. Had so much fun doing it. And finally, I want to take some time to remind everyone that's listening to step out of their comfort zone. So this past weekend, I unexpectedly got invited to do something that is way out of my wheelhouse. I got invited to take part in something that I at one point would have immediately said no to. It's something way out of my comfort zone, something that I would have probably come up with a million reasons not to do. But instead, I decided to say yes. And although I just played like a really, really small part in this project, I ended up having the best experience. I said yes to something that I would have previously said no to. I would have limited myself from having new experiences, from learning something new, from building some sort of confidence, from trying something new. And I just want to remind you that the only limitations we have on ourselves are the limitations that we set for ourselves. And you really have the power and the control to decide what's right for you and what's not. And I think it's really important that we stop before we say no to things to really think about why it is that we're telling ourselves no and to always focus on the yeses. And again, this is something I would have probably said no to right away 2 years ago, or maybe even 1 year ago. But I said yes. I did the thing. I ended up having the best time, to be honest. I came back from the thing being just really invigorated, really excited to talk to my husband about it. I'm really happy I did it. I got to meet some really cool, smart, creative, wonderful people. I got to watch creativity and collaboration happen around me. And to be honest, it's been a minute since I've been in an environment that was collaborative and creative like that. And getting to like just watch it and watch creative people work and think through things and be passionate and see the motivation and the passion that they have doing the thing that they love was really inspiring. I just gave me like reinvigorated everything inside of me. And I'm so grateful that I trusted myself to try something new, even though it might have been out of my comfort zone, even though maybe I didn't play a huge role in whatever that was. But it was just a really great positive experience. And I'm so grateful that I trusted myself again to try something new. And remember, when you do things that are out of your comfort zone, when you try something new, even if you're nervous, even if you feel embarrassed, at the end of the day, you only gain from that experience. You gain confidence, you gain experience, you gain relationships. I'm someone who likes to put myself constantly in new situations. I really thrive in that type of environment. So I feel like I always benefit from an experience like that. I encourage you to take more chances, to have new experiences more often, to say yes to more things, and to be willing to kind of embarrass yourself here and there, because at the end of the day, you do gain from it. You gain confidence, you gain a higher sense of self, and I think of motivation and clarity in what you really want. And the more experiences, the better. Remember, it's never too late to start something new, to expand your consciousness, to expand your knowledge, your life experiences, to make new acquaintances and new friends. Say yes more often. We owe it to ourselves to trust ourselves, to make the right decisions. And you'll never know unless you try, right? Like you'll never know how something will go unless you take the chance. Trust in yourself, believe in yourself, as Benito wanted us all to learn from him during his halftime show, and keep having new experiences. It's really what helps our brains grow. It's what helps us grow as individuals. It's what helps us create empathy and art and add more unity to this world. So with all that being said, it was a positive experience. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the people I got to meet and work with. And I hope you trust yourself more to make those types of decisions and take more chances. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week with a brand new episode, a brand new interview. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. I would so greatly appreciate it. Leave us a review, download the previous episodes. Let us know what you think. You can email me at haneen@wellrootedpod.com. I will respond to you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.